Michael, when we first contacted you to do the interview for the 6-stage plot structure, we thought it'd be fun for you to break down a script applying your structure. You obliged. We were very happy to hear that. You chose A Few Good Men from 1992. Curious why you chose the movie. Nothing against it, but...
No, that's good. Yeah. I hope you're not miserable during the whole discussion.
No.
A number of reasons. The first and foremost is just one of my all-time favorite movies, and I don't really enjoy discussing movies that I don't love. I don't really like using bad examples and so on. I think it's just one of the great American screenplays and movies, certainly the best courtroom drama since 12 Angry Men, and I'd have a hard time equivocating between those two. Also because it's based on a play written by Aaron Sorkin. He wrote the script and went on to become huge as both a screenwriter and a television writer, because this was all predated Sports Night and West Wing and so on. So he's now one of the best known screenwriters in Hollywood, so I thought that would be interesting to look at it that way. But also the main purpose is to kind of clarify and make simpler my particular approach to story structure and character arc. And because this follows that pattern or that formula or whatever you want to call it so clearly and in such a straightforward way, I think it's a great example, because it's very easy to see as you pick the movie apart where all the elements that I talk about in structure and character are there. So I just thought this would be a good, fun one to talk about.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's get started. So we'll take the setup, which is stage 1. We're in act 1. You want to start
Sure.
talking about?
Yeah, let me give a little backdrop here. So for those of you who haven't seen the other interview we did going into depth about my approach to the 6-stage structure and character arc, I'll review some of that so you'll be caught up and you'll understand what I'm talking about. In my approach to structure or plot structure, I find that successful movies are always divided into 6 basic stages. And those stages are created by 5 key turning points in the script or in the movie. And even more to the point, or even neater, those turning points always occur at essentially the same place in every movie. So whatever happens at the 10% point of Titanic is going to happen at the 10% point of Zootopia, and is going to happen at the 10% point of A Few Good Men. So these are things that I think it behooves screenwriters and filmmakers to model, because if this has worked consistently in so many successful movies, you probably want to replicate this approach in your own writing. And in terms of character arc, I'm going to get into that and explain that as we go through and I start talking about how these characters are revealed and how we go deeper into the characters and what their inner journey and their arc are and so on like that. So we'll get to that part. As far as the 6 stages are concerned, the first stage is, as you say, what I call the setup. It's the first 10% of the movie or of the screenplay. And as a screenwriter or filmmaker, there are a few key things you need to do in that stretch. First thing you must do is introduce the hero of the movie. Hero is just my term for the protagonist, the main character. It's the one we're rooting for, the character we empathize with or identify with. It's the character whose desire defines the plot of the story and whose desire drives it forward. A hero, just to clarify, is not someone who is heroic. Unless maybe you're talking about a superhero in a movie, but even then at the beginning, not so much probably. What I call a hero is more a character who has the potential to become heroic. And in the movie, especially if there's a movie with a character arc where the hero has to find a certain degree of emotional courage, that's part of what the story's about, is how do they find their own heroism? How do they move into the truth of who they are? So in the setup of A Few Good Men, we begin with something I call an outside action opening. Most of the time in screenplays, the hero is the first character on the page. And when you submit your script to be read, the assumption of the reader will usually be whoever's name appears first, that's the hero of the story. But you can oftentimes seduce the reader or the audience into the story more easily if you begin with a moment of great conflict. So the movie will begin with something that does not involve the hero. You'll see this in Da Vinci Code, where it starts with a murder there, or a number of other thrillers and so on. So in A Few Good Men, it opens at Gitmo at Guantanamo Bay Base, and we see a soldier getting, we're not quite aware of it at the time, but we see a soldier getting smothered and find out he is dead. He will die. Then we cut to another character in the movie. So we're still delaying the revelation of the hero. The effect of that, while it's a little dangerous sometimes to have the reader keep wondering, well, who am I rooting for here? It does create more and more anticipation. Okay, well, who's gonna be leading this parade here? Where is the hero? So we're introduced to Joanne Galloway, the Demi Moore character. I'll talk more about how she functions in the story when we meet her, and we find out there's been this death. The Navy wants her as an internal affairs attorney to look into it. They want her to sort of supervise. She hopes they'll let her be the attorney, but she's not. They're going to assign her another attorney. So all of that is set up, and we're wondering, well, who is going to be assigned to this? And since the audience already knows the star is Tom Cruise, they probably have figured out it's going to be him. And then we cut to the hero. Notice all of this is still in this first 10%. So about 5 pages or 5 minutes in, then it cuts to the Tom Cruise character, Daniel Kaffee. I'm looking down at notes because I'm not always good at remembering character names. But we meet him, and what do we meet when we first see him? He's out hitting a baseball or a softball to one of the other, sailors or whatever, and another attorney comes up, and he's not shown up at a meeting. Kaffee hasn't, and the guy wants to plea bargain a deal, and he wants to demand 5 years in prison and so on. And we see Kaffee plea bargain that down to no jail time, just a misdemeanor and so on, because he says the guy just had a bag of oregano. He didn't even know it was, he just thought it was marijuana and so on. So what does this show us? And he finally wins. So it shows us a few things. First of all, because we feel sort of sorry for this guy who had the bag of oregano, we start to like Kaffee immediately because he's on the side of this other guy. He's a likable guy. And he seems well liked by the guy he's playing catch with or hitting the ball to and so on. So being likable is one key way to establish empathy with a hero. And that's one of the main things you have to do as soon as you introduce the hero. Another thing, we find out he's highly skilled. So we admire the character. He may be kind of slick and quick about how he does it, but it's kind of amazing how he's able to get what was going to be 5 years in the brig down to no jail time and a misdemeanor and just something on his record that's going to be meaningless. In other words, he gets the guy off. So we're very admiring of that about him. And the way he does it is very funny, and we're drawn to characters who make us laugh, oftentimes because they also have the courage to say things we wouldn't have the courage to say. They're not real politically correct, and he's very sarcastic and puts people down and so on. So all of this is to introduce us to this character and create empathy with this hero. And then we come to the 10% point of the movie.